Rosmi, you're in the office, is it? You're wearing a mask? Discussion section is the actually the if everything else you call heart and liver and all that, discussion section is the liver of your paper. You know that everything else may work, without liver your body will collapse. Discussion section is the most important thing, and it's the only section after your research question a reviewer will read. Making a good discussion will hide many other mistakes of yours. So I want you people to show complete commitment to the discussion section. And if you have any questions on discussion section with Professor Hari, talk to him. Hari said we will close the session at 11 o'clock.
Yes, Professor.
Thank you so much. With this, I am handing over the session to Professor Hari. Sir, carry on.
Yes, very good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sir.
Okay.
Morning, sir.
I hope all of you had breakfast. I think you all look.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So difficult, I know. Morning 9 o'clock session is always difficult. Being at home.
I thought you are going to feed them breakfast in discussion.
Okay. Now what we will do, I think we will start where we left, and then as Professor said, discussion is also very important. Okay. Right. Able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think we were discussing yesterday about a whole lot of concepts on data analysis, starting from normality, mean, skewness, Mardia's coefficient. Then we say about some elements of SEM, how to dot diagrams, what does the diagram indicate. We were also talking about yesterday latent variable, then observed variable. Okay, then what are the different kinds of SEM available? Okay, and if you look at the different kind of SEM, it is PLSM, it is covariant based SEM, and you can also use Bayesian framework kindly mute all of you, please. You also have Bayesian SEM. You can also use Bayesian statistics in the SEM framework, right? So these are all the different things we were talking. Right. Now I think we were also talking yesterday about reliability, validity, how important for us in research. Then we'll start with what happened to reliability. What happened to reliability? If you cannot not very keen to find out the Cronbach alpha, remember some practical aspects of it. If you cannot find out any Cronbach alpha, I don't have any facilities, use your Excel and find out the correlation between constants. Sorry, correlation between items, not constant. Correlation between items. For example, if a particular construct has got 5 items or 5 measures, then just calculate the correlation of all the 5 correlation between them among all the items, and then find out the average correlation. The average correlation is nothing but a Cronbach alpha. Okay, the average correlation is nothing but a Cronbach alpha. So what is that you do? You take your Excel, run a correlation between the questions. Okay, if the questions, calculate the correlation between the questions, and keep it keep it as a matrix. Calculate the average. If the average is more than 0.6, then I can say you have reached the target of reliability. Okay, then you achieved your reliability. Okay, if it is not reliable, the scale is not good enough. Please understand that also. If your scale is not reliable, the scale you measure is not good enough. So the questions you have is not good enough. Right? Now don't worry about this. And then you also have a lot of statistical software which can help, right? Which can help in computing the Cronbach alpha. So the history of reliability goes like this. In 1955, in an article, Lee Cronbach published what is called as alpha. He says that alpha, and we also used for, I think, close than 50 years, 60 years, right? So we say that the Cronbach alpha must be 0.7. If it is a study, is an exploratory study, the Cronbach alpha must be 0.6. But remember, there's a lot of development in the domain of reliability. Okay, reliability is a kind of measurement model. Remember, reliability is a measure of I think all of you mute, please. Manisha, yes, mute Manisha. Okay, so reliability is nothing but it's a measure. It's a measurement model. Please remember. Okay, and remember, if somebody is having more appetite, I will tell you that there are different forms of measurement model. It is not in the slide. It is not in the slide. One is congeneric. If you want, I'll type it. CONGNERIC. Congeneric model. Then you have parallel model. Then you have tau model. So Cronbach alpha, or measure of reliability, Cronbach alpha belongs to it is an equivalent model. Okay, equivalent model. Okay. So it is a very less restrictive form of measurement model. Very less restrictive. And remember, when I say certain tough words, do not hesitate to take it up, because in research, mathematics comes in. Mathematics involvement is becoming high and high as days progress. So whether we like it or not, the amount of mathematics comes inside the research these days becoming high and high. So we have to be open to learn certain things. So measurement model could be congeneric. There are a lot of paper. I think I shared a paper with you. Congeneric model. It could be a tau model. It could be equivalent model. So all these are measurement model. Yeah. Out of this, very less restrictive is the equivalent model, which says like this. This definition says like this: the items can measure a common construct. When it measures, it also have error. It also has some error variance. So that is what the equivalent model states, right? So equivalent model is a measurement model, and broadly there are few types. Again, I'll repeat: congeneric, parallel, equivalent model, or some of the common model. Out of this, the equivalent model is the least restrictive. Congeneric model is a highly restrictive, and then so we have something called, to measure reliability, we have equivalent model, right? Right. Now there is another confusion add to the literature. So confusion in the sense, some more the reliability measure is becoming more and more. In the sense, I think around 2000, people, I don't know whether, I think Hensler is one person, Chin is one person, introduced what is called as composite reliability. So you have Cronbach alpha as a measure of reliability. Now it comes to composite reliability. A composite reliability is, they say it's slightly better. It has some, for example, in Cronbach alpha, the values changes as the n changes, that is number of sample changes. But in case of composite reliability, it's more steady. It does not have influence based on the number of samples. So they say that is one better. Then I think close to 2010 and 2015, again the same Hensler says Dillon Goldstein Rowe. That is also a measure of reliability. So remember, I'm here to update your knowledge. I told you 1955 Cronbach alpha, then come to composite reliability. Now recently we are talking about what is called Dillon Rowe. I also seen in the literature, that my experience of, I seen the literature and I found out a lot of papers comparing Cronbach alpha with composite reliability with Dillon Rowe. There's a lot of papers available, but none of them state substantially this is better, that is better. So we use both. For example, many of the paper now uses both Cronbach alpha and composite reliability. Both. They have both in the table. Many papers have both in the table. Suppose I work with PLSM, then most often I use composite reliability. If I use, no, for example, CBSIM, I can use both also. There is no hard and fast rule. You can use any way you want, right? So if you ask me what is the reliability coefficient, it is nothing but the true score divided by your observed score. It's the ratio of a true score. What is the true score divided by the observed score? So a true score, I think it's something you have to remove the error part. A true score is something you won't be able to find out. You have to remove the error part, right? As I mentioned, there are a lot of articles comparing each other, but none of them say this is the best. There is no proof says that this is best. So what we do to be on the safe side, we report both, okay, to satisfy the reviewer, to satisfy the editor, right? There is another form of reliability called test retest reliability. It's a kind of method to test the reliability. So remember, test retest reliability is nothing to do with Cronbach alpha. What is that test reliability? Is a method to test reliability where Cronbach alpha, composite reliability are all gives the no ratio. It gives out the output of this is going to be a ratio. In the sense, it tells you what is the measure. Normally, 0.6 is a minimum value. 0.6. 0.6 is a minimum value. 0.7 is ideal. 0.8 and 0.9 are excellent. So this is how we say that the scale possesses good reliability, right? 0.7 is good. 0.6 something slightly very difficult to answer, but some studies, some big papers I've seen 0.6 as well, right? Then you have 0.7 is ideal, 0.7 and above, and the ideal could be 0.8 and 0.9 would be the ideal. Excellent Cronbach alpha. So any questions on Cronbach alpha? Cronbach alpha or just reliability? Is there any question?
So can you give one example of the calculation, something worked out you are done?
Yes,
so that
sir.
How to calculate and some practical.
Yeah, that is an to answer your calculation method. There is a formula available for Cronbach alpha. To be very frank with you, we forgot. We read and forget because most often we use a statistical black box statistical tool and compute the Cronbach alpha. So we forget very frankly. But what we do very crudely, we will compute the correlation of all the questions of a particular for a particular latent variable or construct, and we take the average of this. If the average falls above 0.7, then we say Cronbach alpha is that. You take the average. For example, there are 5 correlation. One is 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, say 0.85. I have had all the I take the average. If the average comes around, say for example, 0.7 and above, then I can say that the Cronbach alpha is. So I am telling that we can just crudely measure Cronbach alpha using correlation coefficient. I hope I have answered the question.
Yeah. Sir, sometimes, the correlation, suppose think that, 10 items are there.
Okay.
I'm not very sound on research.
Yeah, no.
Mathematically, I'm asking you, sir.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a
okay.
beginner.
Okay, yeah,
suppose 8 is having a higher correlation, assuming it is 0.7. So,
okay.
So it will come
8 in the sense is
8 items. 8 items.
8 items, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
And the 2 items, it is 0.1, 0.1.
Yeah.
So, but still average can come, 0.6 or, it can come, 7 or something like that, correct?
Yeah, possible.
So it doesn't have a problem because we are neglecting that when you are taking average.
Okay.
Because of the other items, higher correlation.
Okay.
Nullifies the least correlation item.
Okay.
Take average. So is there any other better method? Maybe standard deviation.
But your question is theoretically correct. But I'll tell you one thing that if you say 5 out of 10 questions, 2 shows very low correlation. Okay, very low correlation says that is the difference between the good one and the bad ones are very large. Okay, two bad one and remaining all the others are good one. In the sense their correlation is above 0.7. Or even if you have a problem, I think I will draw you 2 concepts here. If you have any issues in items, if you feel the correlations are very low, and you have 10 items, you are blessed, and you have you are blessed because you have 10 items. You are not having 3 items. And that is the case. If that is the scenario, then you can knock out this 2 and retain the 8. Okay, this is one answer. The second answer, you can also keep it because your reliability as a whole is good. That's the second answer. The third answer, remember that all these things, all this reliability is only for reflective measurement model and not for formative measurement model. That also you should keep in mind. All this reliability works on the basis of correlation, and Cronbach alpha is based on the correlation. So there is no correlation between items in a formative measurement model. Hope it is clear, Anirudh.
Yes. Thank you.
Any other question? Any other question?
Sir,
On reliability.
I have a
GV,
question.
tell me, GV sir.
Sir, as you said, there are 3 options. Which option is more considerable in the review, sir? Because once we send the paper,
Yes, sir.
so probably reviewer look at in a different way. Which one they have to look at more?
Sir, if you have any such apprehension in your mind, I suggest to report Cronbach alpha and composite reliability. 2. Both.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Any other question?
Sir, I have a question. Good morning. Anita here.
Yeah, good morning.
So this is regarding Cronbach alpha. So
Yes.
the Cronbach alpha is influenced,
Ah,
so biased.
okay. Yeah. Yashpal, mute Yashpal. So Katpal, mute it. Yeah, tell me now, Anita. Sorry.
Yeah. So how do we address such things? One example, if I may give, yesterday also I was discussing with sir. I was collecting the responses of employees.
Okay.
And the questionnaire was discussed with the CMD. I mean, I didn't discuss the questionnaire. It was sent to the CMD.
Okay.
And he passed it on to the officials to
Okay.
collect the responses. My Cronbach alpha was close to, 0.90 to 0.9293.
Okay.
So the response seems to be, pretty good.
Okay.
So there is a subjectivity of bias. That's what Professor Bhatta was giving me an answer. Now, in such case, how do I avoid it, and how do I go about it?
That is, you're talking about very high Cronbach alpha.
Yeah, it's, everything is around 9+.
Yeah, I think this is I have seen in some papers. But what you can do is, you can, if that is the case, you feel the value of Cronbach alpha is very large. Yeah, it leads to some kind of bias. Yeah. What you can do is, there is a provision available in SPSS. If I want, I will show you. You knock out the one which has got the 1 or 2, which has got the highest Cronbach alpha. Thereby, you can bring down the average. That is one way of doing it. You can very well do it because if your scales are all measurement models. Okay. If you have 7 or 10, for example, you can knock out 2 important or 2 high valued correlation. Okay. That facility is available in SPSS. If you want, I will show. If you already known it, if you know this,
if you could show, I mean, if time permits, that's okay.
Once I open the common method bias, I'll show that. Just remind me if I forget.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Yeah. Any other question?
Sir, I have one. And
yeah, tell me, Sujata. Yes.
Yeah. Now, suppose if I have made a questionnaire and the Cronbach alpha is at the acceptable range, right?
Okay.
Is it necessary that I also do a split of reliability for the questionnaire? If it is, the questionnaire that I have created, is it necessary?
Not necessary. Not necessary. That is, if you want to do, you do it in the beginning. But once you already collected data and it's coming well, then you don't have issues. You can just
okay. So thank you.
Again, like test retest reliability, split of reliability is also a method to bring out reliability values, right? What do? You divide the questionnaire into 2, odd number in 1, even number in 1 questionnaire. There are 2 questionnaires, collect data and test it. Right. Now,
Yeah, I have a question, sir.
yeah, tell me, Manisha.
If I have multiple scales in my questionnaire,
Yes,
so I should be doing individual reliability for each of the scale, right?
yes, yeah,
And
I
if-
think, yes, yes, yeah, complete.
And if I use different tests, for example, one I do test retest, one I do Cronbach alpha, will it be acceptable in a paper?
They say they want this test retest split of all method to derive the Cronbach alpha. Okay, now, so
Okay.
Cronbach alpha is different. These are all methods, right?
Okay.
Now, if you have, there are 2 points to this question. I think one point I want to make it, this Cronbach alpha is based on correlation. Okay, since it is based on correlation, all the items of one construct will be correlated. That is how the scale development is, will be happening. So all the items of one particular construct only is correlated. You cannot compare with the other construct because this is in that particular construct is a different phenomena, and the correlation of them will be of different patterns. So it is only construct or latent variable wise, not the entire model wise. Having said that, I also want to remind you all the other researchers, there are some scales are multidimensional. Okay, for example, take the case in HR domain, work engagement is made up of vigor, I think VED. The 3 dimensions are available in work engagement. I forget. Okay, this I have to do it, even though work engagement is one scale, I have to do Cronbach alpha for each dimension, because each dimension has a different phenomena and the correlation value cannot be connected one to the other. So that is also very important. You have to calculate not just each construct wise, each dimension wise also you should report Cronbach alpha, and for GVMSR you can also report both.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other question on Cronbach alpha?
Sir, can you give the short difference between Cronbach alpha and the composite reliability, because I didn't get it.
No, I'm not able to get you. Your voice is breaking. Yeah, please.
Sir,
Please
what is
comment.
the yes, sir? What is the difference between Cronbach alpha and composite reliability?
Sir, to put it very crudely, both are measures of reliability. Okay, both are measures. In some studies, they say marginally this is better and that is better. Okay, so you can, to be on the safe side, you can report both in the paper or in your thesis. Both are more or less same. Maybe a formula could be slightly altered, but ultimately, as an application wise, these are measures of reliability. So you can use both, right? Okay. If you want to go further, read these papers. These papers are all very important to understand the measurement model mechanism, right? This is where I have given this in my kit also. If somebody want to go beyond to understand reliability, then this is a paper. I hope, Yadav, I hope I have answered.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Yeah, tell me, Manisha.
yeah. So what I generally do is I do reliability using test retest as well as split half, and which one gives me a better result, I report it.
Okay, fine.
Now what happens is if there are multiple scales and if one scale gives me a better result with test retest and one gives me better with split half alpha, and if I report them, one using retest and one using split half, will the reviewer have a problem with this?
See, I think you're, I don't know what you meant really, but if you look at their test retest split off, this is nothing to do with the construct. This is to do with your questionnaire, where reliability measure like Cronbach alpha is based, it is basically on each construct. So we are very interested on what is a construct and its reliability. The split off is based on the questionnaire. So your questionnaire has been split into 2. If, for example, you have 40 items, split into 2, 20. If you are going to do a test retest, no, I'm going to do it with the same respondent. Again, I'm going to check after a span of some time. So these are 2 different things. Well, that's what I want to tell you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Any other? That is this paper. See this paper. This paper reported. This paper reported that as compared composite reliability and Cronbach alpha, I think the outcome says that it is more or less safe. That's what this is. I think this is a Journal Applied Psychology paper. It's a slightly older paper, 2012. It's also reports, right? Here it says that this particular paper says that Cronbach alpha estimate is good. So what I want to say is that there are no papers saying this and that. So no paper has categorically say this is the best. So what we can do in this such scenario in the literature, the scenario in the literature is such that we can report both, right?
Sir, may I?
Yes. Yes.
Sir, is there any particular thumb rule that for particular this kind of construct or concept we need to use particular this kind of reliability test?
No, I think I will be very practical here. Hita is because what I will do if I don't get Cronbach alpha correct, I will only use composite reliability and show to the reviewer. I will suppress the low value of Cronbach alpha in the paper. Instead, I show a composite. This is how we practically manage.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll move to validity.
Sir, one question. For the purpose of thesis and all, do we have to report both or one will be sufficient? What do you suggest? Or both should be ideal?
If that is the case, if you want to use only one, you can report composite reliability. If you want to report only one in a thesis, you don't want to have more than one, then you can report composite reliability, which is better accepted these days.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Okay, shall we move to validity?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now see the validity. Yeah. So reliability is one, validity is another. Both you require to be fulfilled. Otherwise, your research is not in the right direction. Okay. Now there are different types of validity. Something called start with content validity. Then you have convergent validity. Then you have discriminant validity if you have a model. So there are three widely used three forms of validity: content validity, convergent validity, and discriminant validity. So these are the three important ones, right? Yeah. So whether we are now very interested whether the construct measure the intended concept. That is what the fulcrum here is. Whether it measures the intended concept. If it is not measuring, then there won't be any validity. Right? Right. Now, what it says again, it refers to the relationship between items, the convergent validity. It converges. Okay. The convergent validity is measured through what is called as AVE. So AVE stands for the average variance extract. Okay. So AVE is the latest. Is the one not latest. Is the one we use for so long. Take the 1981 Fernl-Lurker paper. So I think so long we use AV. What is that? Average variance extracted. So what I do, very simple. I take the correlation, square the correlation, take an average. So three steps. What is the correlation? Correlation between the items I take, square them off. Okay. Then I take an average. So that is going to be my AV. So I want an AV. So if I square, the correlation becomes variance. And then the average of the variance should be 0.5. Okay. That is what I'm discussing now is convergent validity. So convergent validity is measured through average variance extracted. And if it is, if it should be more than 0.5, you take a correlation among items or questions in a column, take the next column in Excel, square them up, and then take an average. That is going to be your AV. According to Fernl-Lurker, it has to be 0.5 and above, right? But all these are not difficult sometimes. Sometimes you end up with 0.45. Okay, 0.45. Don't fudge anything. Report. You report the AV as 0.45. Even though the threshold level thumb rule says it must be 0.5 and above. Right? Even if you get less than that, I request you to report. Don't show anything. There are ways they can find out what is the average variance extent. So you may get caught. Okay. And the discriminant validity is if you decide on a model. For example, I'm going to develop a model. The discriminant validity says like that. Very simple. In simple terms, if I put it, the discriminant validity says that the construct in my model, they should not measure a certain similar phenomena. Okay. I put it in a practical perspective. It'd be very difficult to many a times if you have customer loyalty and customer satisfaction in one model. It will be very difficult for you to measure the discriminant validity. So what it says, each construct in a model, so in a model, which has to be one should discriminate or one should be different from the other in a model. If that is the case, if all of them measure in different phenomena, then you can expect a good discriminant validity. So what is that I want to tell you? It starts from a model building. So it starts from a model. If you know to build model really well, then I think the chance of discriminant validity after collecting data, the possibility of not coming through will be very less. Okay, so discriminant validity are planned when you develop a model, right? Now, having said that, so what is the other new development in the domain? I think few years back, I think 2015, they say that HTMT ratios are better measured if you use a PLS. Okay, what is HTMT? HTMT stands for heterotrait monotrait validity, or heterotrait mono. I think if you put in a Google Scholar, you will get it. You will get articles from Hensler, Chen, and few others. So now, if you are using PLS based analysis, the suggestion is if you use a variance based or a PLS analysis, if you want to measure the discriminant validity, use HTMT ratio of correlation. That is a new development happened in the year of 2015. Otherwise, all are as old as 30-40 years. Okay, so HTMT is heterotrait monotrait ratio of correlation. There are, I think, 2-3 articles. One is in James, Journal of Academy of Marketing Science. Other things, I think one is in MIS Quarterly. There are a few journals on the importance of HTMT. They found out that if you use a PLS-based analysis, instead of using a Fernald-Lurker criterion of discriminant validity, it is better to use the HTMT ratio. They have proved, this has been proved using simulation studies. They have some data they generated through simulation, and they found out HTMT worked better when compared with the Fernald-Lurker criterion. Okay, so what is the validity? Validity is nothing but you measure the intended concept, okay, whether it is correctly or not. There are different forms of validity test. There are so many. If you read Madhu Vishwanath book, you can see around 7 types of validity. Madhu Vishwanath, an Indian, written a book called Measurement Error and Research Design. It's a book available in sales. There are 7 in that book. I think I've seen that close to 7 forms of validity. Something I have not mentioned here is predictive validity. Something I have not mentioned here is nomological validity, which I have not mentioned in the slide. Okay, so there are 7 forms. If you are more interested, read the book on Measurement Error and Research Design by Madhu Vishwanath. Is available in sales. Right. Okay, and the convergent validity is measured in AVE, which should be 50% and above. And as I also mentioned you, if it is less than 0.5, mention that it is less than 0.5. For example, 0.45, 49, or 481. Do not fudge, do not change it. Right. Right. Now you can throw the questions on validity. I don't know whether I missed out something. Okay. The latest development is only the HTMT. No, nothing. The domain has not changed. After that. Any question on validity?
Sir, so these 2 tools will be sufficient, right? AVG and discriminant analysis?
Yeah, I think content analysis, you do it no, with a questionnaire. You send it to 3-4 domain experts, and then whatever suggestion they say about the questionnaire, you incorporate in the questionnaire. So that is content validity. Then you have to move to one, then you collect data. Then you have to do 2 forms, which is very important. One is convergent through AVE, and the other one, the last is discriminant validity. These are compulsory if you have a model. If you don't have a model, discriminant validity is not going to be useful. If you have a model, then discriminant validity is important. You have to say that all the constructs in the model discriminate from one another. They are not the same in play.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Suppose for my research, I am developing a scale.
Okay.
And in the first stage during pilot study, I have gathered data and done the factor analysis and all. In the second stage, I have done a confirmatory factor analysis to test my model.
Okay.
Now, how can I, judge my predictive validity of the scale, since it is, supposed to measure a particular construct? Is it important for me to assess the predictive validity as well?
Yes, I think if you are in a scale development domain, then what you should do is you should also predict nomological validity. Okay.
Nomological.
Yeah. What is nomological validity? Predictive validity and nomological validity, there's a slight difference. More or less same, but a slight difference. Nomological validity, what you should do is you are developing a construct in one domain, and you take any antecedent or outcome variable. It could be any one of these. You have to take the other variable in. You have to bring inside the scale development. It could be a dependent variable or it could be a predecessor. So you are anyone, or most likely it could be a outcome variable. So you are your scale should predict or should predict the outcome variable of your domain. You understand? You take one dependent variable of your domain and then see its predicts. What is the predict? The t-value must be more than 2, and the beta should be positive or negative, depending upon the direction. So that is required if you are in a scale development, right? Again, one more thing I want to tell you, since you sell scale development, you can also use a test called, I don't know whether all of you heard this test. This is called confirmatory tetrad analysis. If you are in the scale development, okay, read some papers of Bollen, Bollen, if you want to know something on confirmatory tetrad analysis, TET, tetra pack, or tetrad. So confirmatory. So you what is the use of this particular test is you can find out whether the construct is, you can prove whether the construct is statistically, you can prove whether the construct is formative or reflective. So the only mechanism we have is confirmatory tetrad analysis. Remember, confirmatory tetrad analysis, I don't know, I know it's available in R, and it's also available in PLS based analysis. In my paper, I have did it in order to prove my construct is formative. Right? That is also there. That's a start. So your literature will help you to say that it is formative or reflective. And more than that, you want a statistical test to prove the literature, and then you can do any other confirmatory data. When I open the PLS, I'll show you where is the confirmatory data analysis available. Right. Any other questions on validity? Any other questions on validity?
Sir, do you have any, for discriminant validity, is there any parameter which we can measure?
Discriminant validity? Yeah.
Like in AVG, you said it should be around 0.5.
Likewise. Yeah. In case of, I'll show you that. Yeah, I think you raised the right question. How to
validate.
Assess, yeah, validate. Yeah. I think I'll take my paper so that easy for me to tell you. I'll change the screen. Give me some time. Can you see this paper now? Can you see this measurement scales result of study 3?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So this is a scale development work. So now I think she asked me how to know how to infer the discriminant validity results. So that is the question. So we'll see that. Normally we give the item loading T statistics. You can see on the top it is CR stands for composite reliability. AV is a measure of convergent validity. So both are there at the top. Then if you look at, there is a small table at the bottom. So I'll make it big slightly. Now you can see here, there is a portion called discriminant validity, right? See, the discriminant validity, you can look at this. Now, this is the 0.75, 0.73, and 0.85. This is nothing but, I think, square root of AV. And you can see that below there are two values. First one is 3 values, then 2 values, and 1 value. See the 3 values below 0.75. It is 0.39, it is 0.21, and it is 0.40. See the next one under 0.73 is 0.27 and 0.50. How to infer this? The square root of AV, which is the top, which is given in bold, it must be more than the correlation between items or correlation between the construct, which is given at the bottom of the column. So the top value of the column is 0.75. All the values below that are less. Similarly, next column also 0.73, 0.27, 0.50. Similarly, 0.85, the below one is 0.45. So in all the columns, you can see the top bold one is higher than the bottom, than all the available values in the column, which is just below the bold faced numbers. If this is a scenario, then I can say that this particular construct has discriminant validity according to Furnell-Urquhart criteria. Is clear? Any doubt here?
Yes, sir. Which paper is that which you have quoted?
I have given that paper in the RAR file which I sent to you.
Right. Name of the.
It is perceived impact of promotional support. So issues and scale is the name of it. Right. Any other questions in validity? So again, the thumb rule is 0.5 and above. The square root of AV value for each construct or each column wise must be low when compared with the. Right. Now, I think the latest development is HTMT ratio. That also I think I'll try to show you in Google Scholar. Yeah, can you see my slide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can see the first one, discriminant validity testing in marketing, analysis, cause for concern, and proposed remedies. This is something new. Okay. Here you can see the heterotrait, monotrait ratio of correlation, right? Yeah, then I will also tell you how to infer the HTMT ratios. Right. How to? I don't have a slide. I just talk to you. You have a table. You can have one table with a lower triangular matrix or an upper triangular matrix, whichever way. You don't have anything in the diagonal, so you have a lower triangular matrix. If the values between construct is less than 0.85, then you can say according to less than 0.85. That is a thumb rule. That's a thumb rule. They have proved using some simulation studies. Okay, if it is 0.85 less, then you can say that this particular construct in my model possesses a discriminant validity. This is according to HTMT. STMT is, you can also use, for example, why I'm telling you all these things. So you don't get, you do after all the studies, you don't get using and say a Fernald-Urquhart criterion. You have an option in with you, and you can use what is called HTMT ratios or HTMT ratios are available. You can see whether HTMT is coming through, so that you don't have to show that in the paper. Because you collected data, you spend a lot of time, a lot of money. So it's better that that is the case. If Fernald-Urquhart criterion is not satisfied for your data, then you can try what is called as HTMT ratios of correlation. Any question? That is why we say. So the thumb rule is 0.85 and below. Okay. In a Fernald-Urquhart criterion, the AV is at the top, which is given in bold. All the values below are correlated. So the square root of AV must be more than the correlation values in the bottom of each column. Then I can say that all this. So you don't have to worry much about which column how to come. So many a software gives straight away they give the table. So you just have to know how to infer the table. Okay. If you are very keen, then you can, and you don't want to believe the black box of SPSS and other software. You can think of doing it manually, where you will enrich your knowledge on such tables and values and concepts.
I have a doubt, sir.
Yeah.
So when we report in PLS SEM, we have both Fauna and Leica criteria as well as HTMT ratios.
Okay.
So should we report both the tables when we one after the other?
I don't think it is necessary. I have seen many papers doing it both. I don't think it is necessary. You can report any one of this. Okay. If you do a PLS analysis, best thing is to report the HTMT ratio. Only but yeah, I also want to tell you, Thomas, that if the reviewer asks for it, then you can report both. Otherwise, report only once, only one.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions on reliability and validity? Any other question? So it is required. So you require to have you need to understand. I think pilot study is something very useful. If you have a pilot study in place, whatever problem you have, you know in advance. So do a pilot study. If you want to get well equipped with structural equation modeling, then if this is one of the highly cited paper, read this paper on SEM. Okay, very highly cited paper. So if somebody want to start, they can just read this article on evaluating structural equation model with unobserved variables and other things. Okay, measurement error. Okay, the next one, I think we already discussed about these two slides, measurement model and informative and reflective models. Yes. Okay, I remember. I will tell you again. I want to caution you. The formative model do not have any Cronbach alpha. Their scales are not, because their items are not correlated to one another. Since they are not correlated to one another, there is no Cronbach alpha for formative items. Formative constraints, right? So all this validity, what you are read so far here in the presentation, is only, whatever we have gone through is only meant for reflective measurement model and not for formative measurement model. If you are very sure of, if you want to read some of the papers, like my paper, I have given something on how to evaluate the formative measurement model, right? Now I think what I will do is, I will the other issue of self-reported data. That's a big issue, and all of them are looking for this. I'll show you an article recently came in a top journal. I think I'll show you that. And you can see this can you see this PDF?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah, you can see the one I have blocked. Below that, below that you can see common method bias. So if you are collecting data from, or your data is a self-reporting data, because what is self-reporting data? See, I am talking on my job satisfaction. I am talking on my job performance. Then myself, no, I am talking on my, then it is a self-reporting data, is a self-informant data. Okay, if I'm going to report on my job satisfaction, more likely I will get a kind of bias. So that is something called as the common method bias. Okay, so when it will be, when you have a self-reporting. Now, what is not self-reporting? For example, if I don't report on my performance, my manager, my boss is going to report on my performance, then I think the problem of common method bias is not there. Now, there are a lot of tests available, no, to assess. Before going to the statistical method of controlling common method bias, let me also talk to a way that you have to do when you're designing a questionnaire. You can start your common method bias, to an extent you can tackle we call them as a pre-hoc strategy, that is during the questionnaire development. And we also have post-hoc, which means after collecting data. So I think broadly, if I look at it, before collecting data and after collecting data, I can really work on common method bias. Every reviewer is looking, every editor is looking for common method bias, how you are going to assess in the paper. Otherwise, every chance it may get rejected also. This is very important in a quantitative data analysis. Common method bias is very important, right? So what it does, it will have some spurious correlation, which may inflate or deflate the strength of the relationship between phenomena or between concepts or between variables. Okay, so the true relationship will be different, but because of the common method bias inside the data, it may inflate the strength of relationship to a higher value. This is not because of the true, it is because of the common method bias. I think all of you, know little about common method bias. So there are two ways you can tackle. There are two strategies. One is while developing the questionnaire. The next one is while after collecting data. So one is, put it broadly, one is during the questionnaire development, other is after collecting data. So he says this particular author is an editor of A-Star journal. He says common method bias is a concern that has to be clear, particularly for both the antecedent and the dependent variable, as perceptual measure derived from the same source. So your dependent variable and the independent variable are from the same source, then there is a tendency for common method bias. If my dependent variable is taken from somebody else, say for example, my sales performance taken from my monthly sales achievement, it's a true score, it's an objective measure, then there is less likelihood of common method bias. If both dependent variable and independent variable are measured from a same source, one source, then there is a possibility of a common method bias, right? Now, what you should do when you develop a questionnaire? When you develop a questionnaire, inform them all these informations are very confidential. This is one way of doing during the development of questionnaire. Now, the second one, you can inform about what is that you are collecting data. So for example, so I am collecting, you can say this set of questions given below, 5-6 questions given below. These questions are meant to examine or assess the job satisfaction of an employee. So you can give them so that the person you read them, who read this can understand and answer the questions given below. So the other way is to give a small pretext about the variables you are going to collect. The first one is to give a confidence to the respondent that this particular is meant for research. And the calculations is not based on individual, it is based on the calculation we do is based on aggregate. So no way we are having any single respondent individual analysis. So you need to give that confidence. Right. There are the small ways like you can do it to reduce the common method bias. So as I informed yesterday, do not give in a hurry. Don't take it back from the questionnaire from him when he is in a hurry. Okay, even if you don't have his data, don't bother. And if he gives in a hurry, he may contaminate the existing data which are already collected, which will be say 150, 200, and he may contaminate it. So don't worry about this particular respondent. But have the patience. Collect when he is fresh. Don't collect no in the night or in the evening office hours. He'll not be very fresh. All such small practical aspects of data collection will help to get a quality data. Right? Now, I have also done something. I will also show you, and I have found out the data I collected is good enough. So, yeah, I think see this pre-hoc. Can you see this pre-hoc strategy in my questionnaire? See this. I have, as I mentioned, I have two dependent variables. One is about performance of the job, the other about job satisfaction. See, I have collected with one is with 7-point Likert scale, the other is 5-point Likert scale. Can you see that? And can you see here? So they're different. I brought in purposefully to have I don't want to have the same thing, because if I have the same scale, possibly my respondent will become mechanical and start taking the same way. So I want to break. So what I did, I also thought of it, and I have changed the font also. One is the first 7 questions is different font, 8 to 12 questions is different font. I want to break the monotony. The idea is that whether it is successful or not, I won't be able to calculate, I won't be able to estimate. But what I want to tell you is this kind of small things, if you incorporate, possibly you may get a better quality data, but with less method bias. And any questions on this common method bias?
Sir, may I ask?
Yeah, sure, Anirudh.
Sir, now here you have a 7-point, and we could say that there is a point number 4, which is neither disagree or agree.
Okay.
Suppose we want a respondent to be on either side of the scale, and if we give, let's say, if you don't give this option, will it be okay?
So there are 2 ways you can answer, Anirudh. If you are also depriving, if I remove the 4, if somebody want to maintain a neutral position, you are depriving him. Okay, that is one point. And if there are certain scale I have seen that they don't have any neutral point. So that depends upon the scale and the if I remove it, I think somebody want to maintain a neutral. I'm not giving that option. So that you have to keep it in mind. Okay. Yeah. Tell me. Any other questions on common method bias? So I hope I have answered you, Anirudh.
Yeah. An example, if I could quote, would you throw some light on that?
Which one?
So let's say I'm measuring impact of technology on, let's say, on the learning of the student.
Okay.
And if I want to measure that, whether it's a positive or maybe it's a negative sort of.
Okay.
So if I want to, in this case, if I remove that neutral sort of thing, will it be okay?
But again, Anirudh, practically, if you look at it, say you collect 200 samples, how many of them keep on neutral is very less. I have found out that very less. They take a position for the question. They take a position. They don't be neutral. Hardly, if you put very sensitive question on communality and other religion, that's a possibility. Many times with job performance, such common issues like performance, commitment, I think they take a position. There's a practical. They don't go to neutral. So you don't bother much whether you give it. But if I don't give a neutral position, I think I am depriving my respondent of not giving. Somebody out of a set of 100, maybe 5 want to take a neutral position, that I am deprived. So that I don't want to do it. I want to capture all the responses in the way it should be.
Sir,
Yeah, any question? Any question?
Sir, in a thesis, is it necessary to mention how I have handled the common method bias?
See, the
Or-
thesis is a very subjective, Sujata, because that depend upon your internal, your guide and the DC committee. But if your data you collected is Anirudh, mute please. If your data collected is a cross-sectional, or the data, all the dependent variable, independent variable are collected from one source, one respondent, then definitely have common method bias in your thesis, because it really had value if somebody looks in Shudganga after you're submitting a thesis. So many people can benefit. So the best research practice you do it. Whether it is required or not, you do the best practice. Anirudh, kindly mute.
पता नहीं वैसे क्या होगा, वो आरती की पोस्टिंग कैंसिल हो गई आज। रामा है ना, रामा के तो ऑलरेडी दिल्ली में आ गया, बेंगलोर ज्वाइन कर चुका है। इसी से ये अलंकार आरती की कैंसिल हुई उसको कहां डालें?
I think administrator house, please mute Anirudh.
Sir, may I ask a question?
Like you, I think I hope I can hear you. Yeah, tell me. Yes.
Sir, as you were saying, can I quote an example and ask you? That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Please.
In one of the questionnaires that I would be administering, or one is I'm asking the employees to look at the leadership traits of management versus I'm also asking how the leadership is impacting the financial performance of the organization.
Okay.
So,
okay.
So in this context, the employee responses are key in assessing the leadership traits on one hand. On the other hand, I'm looking at how this has impacted the long-term performance, like, how the outreach has increased, how the, profitability for the firm has increased. And then, I'm trying to assess the information. So in such case, according to you, there is a possibility of common method bias, right?
I think your dependent variable seems to be long-term. Long-term, you said, no, long-term financial performance, long-term. This is your dependent variable or independent variable? Any one of these, at least.
The dependent variable would be the performance of the key indicator would be how the leadership qualities have influenced the performance of the firm.
Okay, I got it. So which means you collect data from individually, okay, and you also take you also take it from secondary sources.
Yeah, secondary sources, I am again doing it to validate, seeing that, yeah, I have seen in secondary using the ratio analysis that the performance of the firms are, they are doing better. They are able to, sustainable on themselves. Their production and efficiency parameters are.
You said initially two variable. One is collected through questionnaire. The other is from secondary source. One is primary and the other is secondary.
I know, sir. There are two things. As an employee, I am giving an opinion of how leadership is.
Okay.
And I'm also being asked, like, how do you see whether the number of branches have increased in the organization? Whether you are able to increase the gross loan portfolio, the number of loans that you are giving, the number of customers have increased. So they are looking at both the perspectives as an employee.
Okay.
And the second part is the financial parameters I told you that I'm assessing again from the secondary sources, like collecting from the balance sheets and then establishing that the financial ratios that they're having are also indicating that there is a progressive growth. So employee is also validating.
Okay. Okay, fine. If you have, I think your data seems to be taken from primary as well as secondary, or only primary.
Both.
Both. Then I think you can skip common method minus.
Okay.
Okay, because I feel one variable, if your dependent variable, for example, is being collected through secondary source, and the primary variable or the other independent variable are all collected through primary source, then I think you can leave it. Okay,
No,
when
here
when you have to do, when it's a must, when both IVs and DVs are data are self-reporting.
Yeah, in this case, I am trying to test. On one hand, employee is assessing the leadership qualities.
Okay.
On the other hand, there are a set of questions which are also being asked, like how the firm is growing.
Okay.
Like, the number of branches are growing, the number of employees
but this data, why you are asking from an employee, you can collect from the that is the actual data itself is available, no?
Yeah, it is available.
Then you are collecting the perception of the employee regarding the long term. Yeah.
Correct.
So then if that is the case, if both are taken from employees, then you can run a common method bias test.
Okay.
Okay.
To substantiate, I have done the secondary sources.
Okay.
Now,
yeah.
my one query could be, can I use the responses of leadership traits that I am asking from the employees? And can I, what method can I use to, show the impact of that on financial performance? What kind of tools can I use? Maybe it's
what kind of tools?
What kind of tools can I use?
Yeah, I'll come to that. Okay. Now, okay, this is one way. So I'm also telling this common method bias, eliminate. I won't say elimination, reduction. You can only use reduce. You cannot avoid common method bias. Please understand that basic knowledge. If you say that by all these things done, there's zero common method bias. No, I'm talking something, zero, foolishness. The common method bias, a common method variance is always there. But I can only control. That is a basic understanding one should all have. You cannot say I've eliminated. Okay, you can say I've controlled. You can control in both the stages. What stages? One is after data collection, that is the later stages. The former stages during the questionnaire development. Right? If you are very interested, read the articles of PODSOK. PODSOK. I think I'll put in the chat box. Many of them will find it difficult. For common method, CMB, common method bias, read PODSOK articles. Okay. So he has mentioned elaboratively what is the various ways you have to take care during the questionnaire development stage or pre-hoc strategies. Right. Now you can see at the bottom, all of you look at the bottom of this particular table. You can see all the others are related to job autonomy, job satisfaction, job performance. You can see the last one, 65, 66, 67, 68. Can you read that question?
Rate your skill in using
yeah, please.
Microsoft PowerPoint.
Yes.
Rate your skill in using internet. Rate your skill in using Microsoft Word.
Okay, clear. So what I am trying to do it? I am introducing a marker variable. So I am introducing a concept called marker variable. So what is a marker variable? A marker variable is a variable in my study which is totally unrelated to my domain. My domain here is more of sales performance domain, but I have taken something on computer. So this is going to be totally not related. So what I'm doing during the questionnaire stage, I have introduced a marker variable and start collecting data. Along with the questionnaire, along with the other items, I have found out one marker variable, how to identify totally unrelated variable to my domain. If you are in, for example, if I put it very crudely to understand, if you are in marketing, take something from HR or finance. If you are in finance, take something from marketing and then do it. I have introduced in one of my papers the marker variable. There is a famous paper in Journal of Applied Psychology by Lindell and Whitney. Lindell, and Whitney, Whitney. Lindell and Whitney paper are available. That is the paper which says about marker variable, right? So what is that I'm doing? I am introducing this variable in the questionnaire stage. So if you want to do it afterwards, after collecting data, so I think, no, you can't do a marker variable concept. You can do a marker variable concept during the process of data collection, or you have to include the marker variable inside the questionnaire. You have to put it inside the questionnaire. Then you can use it, the data collected, and see whether statistically I can come. Okay. So I'm not able to see the entire question. If you want, I can give it to you. There are around 70, close to 70 questions. 64 questions are on my constructs, on my domain constructs. I have taken from IT one particular scale, what is called about rating your computer skill. So I found this is nowhere related with the domain I am in. So I thought I also want to collect data, and I want to use this in a computer skill as a marker variable. Okay. So I think I will go to the famous paper of Lindell and Whitney. I'll show you that what is the paper is. See the citation it has. Yeah, I think I'll share the screen now. Yeah, now you can see this. See the Lindell 2001 paper. See the citation is already 5,786. So he says, no, the Lindell and Whitney, see a lot of paper. The first one is very important. So accounting for common method variance in cross-sectional research design is a paper. So that is a paper as given birth. See that kind of path-breaking paper, a seminal paper, is one of the seminal paper in common method bias. Okay. So what is the paper says? The paper says, I think any of you know this concept, or this is something new to all of you? This
It is
marker.
new to me again.
Okay. New. Okay. Anybody knows that? No. Okay. So I think in a way it's good. So marker, I think I have seen thesis. I think Sujata, you're talking about thesis. I have seen thesis, after thesis has been reviewed by a foreign examiner, GV, and then the reviewer is asking to where is the marker variable in your study. So the thesis has been finalized, data has been collected. So you cannot do it. Wow, this is all you have to plan. That's why I said in the first slide, you have to have a data analysis plan. So you have to introduce a marker variable. I think there are papers which I read some time back. There are commonly used marker variable also available in some domains. The only thing you have to spend time in digging the literature and find out the correct marker variable in your domain. So what is that? It is theoretically it must be uncorrelated with the with your domain variable. Should be totally different. Okay, so I can use. Then what I will do? Then the next question after collecting, what I'll do? I will, to all my dependent variable in the model, I'll connect with an arrow. If I do a SEM, I connect with an arrow to all the dependent variables and check for statistical beta and the t-statistics. Okay, if assume that if the beta is very, very small, insignificant, and the t-statistics is also very slow, then I can say, I can come to a point, not a conclusion. I can only say that to an extent, this common method bias may not be an issue for my data. So write like this. Don't write that common method bias is not at all there. Don't write like this. Okay. You write like, I think you would have seen the research writing is very important. You write that possibly there is no much of common method bias in my data. This proves that, right? So this is one way. What is the latest is called as a marker variable concept of Lindell and Whitney. This is something new. I thought I think I want to inform. This is the latest. There are some old methods. In 1970, I think I used the same Google Scholar and something called Harman's one factor or a single factor test. You can see here my Google Scholar page. Harman's one factor test or a single factor test. Okay. I have given you data, SPSS data. Have you gone through this? Have you at least seen that there's a data available? I have in my folder, RAR file.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay. Now I have given the data. I want to show you how to run the common method bias. Right. I want to tell you that particular common method bias paper is from one of my friends called Subhash Jha. Subhash Jha was working in IIM. I forgot the name of the IIM. Now he is migrated. Though the data is around 700 plus number of samples, the data throws a lot of common method bias. But finally, it's published in A-star paper. How they have managed? Okay, that's another story, right? So okay, so the first test to begin with is not marker variable. The marker variable is going to be a kind of conclusive test. It's a very strong test, okay, because it's got a lot of statistical advantage, conceptual advantage. But in case of Harman single test, think one factor test or single factor test, it is a widely used, but it's not as robust as marker variable. It's not robust. It is marker variable is more robust. Okay, so I have not told you. I think I have told you like this on common method bias test. I told you the one which is at the right extreme, which is very good marker variable. On the left, low end, left, less impactful, is a Harman single factor test. So two things I told you. There is something in the middle missing. So I'll tell you, I'll fill up what is missing in the middle. So marker variable, you know that you have to identify a variable which is totally unrelated to your domain. Okay, your domain in the sense, don't think marketing finance. Your domain is sense in research. It could be job satisfaction is one domain, customer loyalty is another domain, work engagement is another domain, job embeddedness is another domain, work family conflicts is another domain. So that is what the domain means here. So you pick up a variable which is totally unrelated and then see whether there is a there is a relationship or not. Very plainly. If the relationship is not there, then you can say people are read the questions and then they put the tick. That's the crude understanding. Because if they are not reading the question and they are filling it up, then likely you may get more bias. So see that the environment is such that they read and fill up the question. That is should be your aim. If they are not reading, please don't do it, right? So this is the common single common. It's called as common. So I think somewhere around 1976, Harman wrote modern factor analysis. Then in that he brings out this concept. So he says like this: if the first, I don't know whether you know factor analysis. I assume that you understand factor analysis. If you don't know, tell me. I will also teach little. If your first factor in a factor analysis has more than 50% variance, according to Harman single factor test, there is a likelihood that your data have common method bias issues. I'll repeat it. Do a factor analysis, and if your first factor has more than 50% variance, then the data set you have has common method bias or common method variance. Right? You want me to get display? You want this to be displayed? You want this to be done? Shall I open the data set? You can also open the data set. If you have SPSS with you, open the software. This is an SPSS file, so you require a SPSS software. I hope all of you have. If you don't have, don't bother. You can take it some cracked version and do it also later after some time. Okay, so what I'll do, I have opened the SPSS file. I'll now share it. What I'm going to do is Harman single factor test. Right? If I have time, I'll also show marker variable. All that I am very eager to teach you, but the only question is time. So already is I think close to 10:30, and your professor has told me in the beginning that you should give some exercise at 10:30 already. See 10:30. So I have only half an hour. I have a lot of things I want to tell you. I think I would have taken 2-3 days program. Okay, I opened this. Now I want to see the data. This is published A-star paper. Please, that you keep, which means all the works are authenticated. It is not a fresh data. You can see You can see the 1, 2, 3, 4. IQ2. IQ1 is missing. Then you can see the next one. IQ1 is missing. IQ3 is on. Can you able to see the SPSS?
Yes, sir.
Yes. You can see that. Yeah, IQ1 is missing. IQ3 is missing. 5 is there. 6 is there. Not the 7, 8, 9. Continuously 3 missing and 11 is not there. I think half of the scale is missing. Half of the scale is missing. IQ stands for interaction quality. That interaction quality, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is available out of 12. 7 knocked out. Right? So what is the learning? You see, it has given a great paper. Huh? What is that I want to tell you? You may not like it, but you have to do it in the sense. Certain questions giving low reliability, like somebody was talking to me in the morning, and certain questions gives low validity, then you have to knock it out. Right? So that's the reason this particular paper has removed all the items, because this is not giving good reliability and validity. So I remove it. Right? Now, I will open both. Somebody asked me about reliability. In SPSS, I think most people know this is a reliability. Right. Okay, I can only take, I cannot do it together. I can only take variable wise or dimension wise. Right. One important thing in SPSS is given scale if item deleted. This is something very important. So somebody asked me in the morning, what will I do? It will tell you whichever scales is bringing down the correlation, that you can delete. That information, if you want, you have to enable this particular scale if item deleted, you have to enable that. Now I am going to say, so okay. Can you see my screen now? Output screen?
No, sir, it is the same screen.
Okay, I'll open this up. Yes. Can you see now?
Yes, sir.
Is it very small? Want to copy and paste it in a Word document? Because I cannot do anything here. I won't be able to make it big in SPSS output. If you want, I will copy paste and do it if somebody cannot see.
Okay.
We could zoom it, sir, in the mobile.
It's visible.
I think you can visible. If you still, I can put some control plus. No, I think it's not working in here. Yeah, not much. Right? So if you still want, what I'll do is I think I'll copy.
So that's fine. We can see, sir.
Okay. Now you can see here. No, I think the data is such here. No, I don't have to delete anything, but I'm just showing you. This one option is available in SPSS. Okay, now I'll go to the next one. The next one is.
So here, tell me. If I may ask, the Cronbach alpha item is deleted. Earlier it was.
No, if I deleted SQ2, it is 0.959.
After deletion.
After deletion. But here we don't have to delete because it's already very good.
Okay. So this 0.595 is acceptable, right? I mean, there is no bias.
Any value about 0.7. 0.7.
Correct. No, yesterday sir was saying that if it's 0.94, 93, 95.
Yes. I think you asked me that question. Now you have to check it up, Anita, your data for common method bias. Because this kind of values possibly, mark my words, not definite. Possibly we'll have a common method variance. Okay. Now I'll show you how to find out the common method variance in your data.
Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, tell me, Vishnu. Yeah, tell me, Vishnu. Yeah, tell me. Yeah.
You have few questions in the chat box, sir, from
Oh,
Ms.
I'm
Dilip
sorry.
Bala.
I'm sorry. I have not seen that. I'll show. Okay. If you can we convert the items having correlation higher than 0.9 into a log? But again, if you take the logarithm of all of them and run the correlation, you get a higher correlation. That's a problem. Okay, that is not going to solve much. Okay. On the other, you can try whether the data has common method bias or variance. No, in secondary data, you don't have to worry about this common method bias. This is happened only if you have a self-reporting data of both the dependent variable and the independent variable. Otherwise, you don't have to bother much. This for studies cross-sectional or experimental, where both the dependent variable and the independent variable are collected through self-report. Right. Okay. Right.
Sir, one question from my side, sir.
Yeah, please.
Suppose say that we don't know the factors. Okay, so our intention is to conduct an exploratory factor analysis.
Okay.
So that was the intention for the survey. So rather than combining the variables into significant factors and then running the Cronbach's alpha, we can try it with one go, right? With one section completely in for a single Cronbach's alpha, if that is fine.
No, I think the Cronbach alpha is measured, reliability is measured for not for the entire factors, but for each factor.
But sir, our intention of the survey is to identify the factors. Our objective is to run an exploratory factor analysis and then find the factors.
Yes, see, if your intention, if their aim of the study is to take out the factors, okay. Assume that you are into a study where you want to extract the factors, right? Yes. You extract the factors, I call them as factor F1, F2, F3. Say there are F4. What is that you should do? You should name the factors.
Correct.
Give them an individual color, give them individual values to it. Thereby, you also have to say the validity and reliability of each factor.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah, I understand. So we have to run the Cronbach's alpha after identifying the factors.
Yes, you find out and Vishnu, you remember that all of them will not be written. I just told you, many of the say 20%, 30% of the items may go out of the iteration. So that is also you should understand.
Completely understand, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'll run the Harman single factor test. I think it's very easy if you know EFA. Okay, very simple than EFA. So I have a data set. Now I know in advance this particular data set has a common method bias issue, right? Now what I'll do, I'll go to analyze. I hope you can see my SPSS file. Yeah. Go to that dimension reduction. This is the place I think where you have to do your factor analysis. Go to factor analysis. So I'm not going to do factor analysis. I'm going to do what is called as Harman one factor test to assess whether there is a common method variance issue with the data or not, right? Remember, remember, I think I'll open one more vista. Remember that you can also do exploratory factor analysis for ordinal and categorical data also. But all the data I have in the dialog box are all metric data or a scale data. So I'm going to copy all these things. I don't want any personal profile data like age. I only want latent variable data or a construct variable data, right? I don't want age, education, sex, all these things. I don't know. I'll put everything here, right? Unless in an exploratory factor analysis, I'm not going to do anything here. I don't want KMO Bartlett. I don't want I don't want any extraction. So there's no extraction situation. I don't want any rotation, no varimax, nothing. Rotation is none. Scores, I don't know. I'm not going to do any multiple regression. I don't want to have my data are not having collinearity, so I don't bother. So I just click OK. Now I'll stop this and I'll come back to the output. See the output. See the output of Harman single factor. I think I'll copy this and put it in a Word document. I'll make it slightly big. I'll stop share and then again share the Word. Yeah. Now I think you can see. This is the data output I got it from SPSS after running Harman single factor one factor test using EFA, exploratory factor analysis. Yeah. You can also do it side by side. You can also do it side by side.
Professor Hari?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're still continuing with yesterday's session?
Yes, sir. Some more I have not completed, sir. I thought I will tell you, then I'll go to discussion, sir.
But almost it's now.
Sir, I think I will complete both in next session, sir. The discussion and the how to answer the reviewer. Sir. I can connect, sir.
Okay.
So no, I will do it, sir.
Okay.
Right? Okay. I have everything ready, sir. So I want to teach them. They are also very keen. So I am also.
No. I told you I leave it to you. It's
I have everything ready, sir. Next topic I have prepared everything
sir,
ready.
we also need this. We also need this, sir. This is also too important to us, sir.
No. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. I just want to know the status. That's all. So you got another 25 minutes to go.
Yes, Professor. Yes, Professor. Okay, so you can also do side by side.
Excuse me, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, we are going to get the recording of this session also, right, sir?
I don't know.
We will be getting recording also.
No, don't ask me. I am like you. So I come and go. That's all. You have to ask Professor Bhatta.
Sir, at least provide us your slides, sir.
I will give the slides. I think I have already given to Bhatta.
Hello, everybody will get all recordings by next week. We'll have to download from the cloud and check all of them and then circulate to people. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
All the participants by next week.
Right. Thank you, sir. Okay. So now you understand this particular data set as a common method bias. And if you read the paper, I think I forgot to include in the kit. But if you read that paper, they've managed to publish in the A-star paper. The Journal of Service Research is the article. Is the title of the journal, right? You can see how to infer this is the first component or the first factor has 50% more variance. As 50%. See, look at this column. Look at this column.
I just wanted to confirm from you, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is more than 50%. So
Yes, sir. I let Anirudh complete. That's why I'm waiting, Matthew sir. I think Anirudh's got a sidetrack, so he's on a phone. Please, somebody inform him to mute. So I think he's okay. Okay, sir, completed. Okay, now you can see the sir Matthew sir. You can see the 66%. I think close 67%. The first factor variance is 67%. Which says that this data has likely a chance of very high common method bias issue. Okay, what this Harman single factor says? Harman single factor is working on a thumb rule. Please understand thumb rule. Thumb rule does not have a scientific basis. Not necessarily a thumb rule has to have a scientific basis. He says, Harman says, it must be less than 50%. Right? You can also note in your AV value, it must less than 0.5. So what is the classical test theory says? The classical test theory says, when you collect data, let first 50% be a true score and 50% can be an error, not more than 50%. That's what my understanding on this 50%. The classical test theory says, based on, you can also see the same thing happen in the AVE calculation. AVE must be 0.5 and above, that is 50% and above. So the classical test theory says that whatever collected, your true score must be 50% more, and whatever you collect as an error must be less than 50%. That is the reason that possibly he says that the thumb rule is 0.5. You can see the first component itself is 66%. I have another data to show you. I have another data to show you is less than 50%. I'll show you, open that also. I think.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, tell me, Suja.
Sir, what if in one of my study, I do not know whether it is because of the fault of the questionnaire or not, I have factor analyzed and only got one factor. Is it something, I'm even not very sure.
No, Sujata, this question, what you said, I have a leading question on that. Have you rotated?
Yes, sir.
Still, yes. You're getting one.
Yes, sir.
Then quite possibly the data has got a common method size. Quite likely.
So should I proceed with that data? Because I collected it over a long period of time.
How many data are there? How many number of response cases?
309.
Oh, that's a good number. You cannot waste it. Find out some other way to reduce it and see. I will tell you some ways. I will tell you. Okay, here how I am going to get the factor, I'll tell you. I think I don't have time. It's the only problem. Now you can see another data. Okay, can you see the new data Q7, Q8, Q9? Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now I'm going to run the same thing. I'm going to show you there is no much of common method bias here. Same place. I'm not going to do anything. I'm put everything here inside. Yes. Yeah. All of them are metric data. So there's a scale data. I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to take this again. I'm going to copy and paste in the next page of my Word document. I'll stop start this and I'll show you my the Word document, the new one. Have a look at it. So different data set. See the one this is. See the first component, it's only 35%. So I can say that the common method bias as per Harman single factor test, where the thumb rule must be less than 0.5 is satisfied. Then according to Harman single factor, there's a less chance of common method bias in my data. So, clear? You got some idea, you got some complete idea. So common method bias is very important when you collect a dependent variable, independent variable from the same respondent. If you don't tackle this, many good paper will reject you. Right now.
Sir, I have one doubt, sir.
Yeah, tell me, Matthew, sir. Yeah, sir.
Sir, the first one, 66, you said. No, that what was the research question on that, and what is the research question on this 35 points?
Sir, Matthew, sir, I'm not going to the research question because I'm only checking the common method bias. It's a kind of sidetrack from my main track.
Oh.
Okay. Whether this the methodologically this is whether the data has a problem of common method variance or not. Okay, so you may not be. This is not a part of the story of the paper. That is what I want to tell you. It is a sidetrack. Whether this is there, then you are methodologically you are not at fault. That is what you are telling, right? Okay. So any other question? We'll move to next topic. So, okay, now I told you that common method bias, I told you extreme end is market variable. The other end is Harman factor test, which I showed you. I also want to tell you that in the middle, there is certain techniques. One technique is very prominent. It's called common latent, it's called the common factor. You will have one factor. It's called common latent factor method. Just note down again, common latent factor method. you can use AMOS and do this analysis. So I told you 3 methods, primary methods. Why I'm telling you 3? You can ask me 1. I'll tell you the reason for that. So the first one I said, very simple, is Harman single factor test. The next one I told you is a common latent factor. You have one latent factor for all the factors. That is the reason common latent factor. And the slightly better one, the latest one, is a marker variable. No, papers, if you look at the top papers, want not one method. Most top journals in the A category and sometimes B category, sometimes in the A star category, they want 2 statistical tests, not 1. That's the reason I told you 3. You can choose 2 and report in the paper. Okay. And remember, Harman single factor test is the least wanted by the reviewer or the editor. They would like to have a common. So what is that you can do? You can do a Harman with common latent factor, or if you're already incorporated in your questionnaire, you can have marker variable with a Harman test. So all top papers, they want 2 technique. Remember this. Very, very important. That is the reason I taught you 3. I'm very sorry. This common method bias, I can teach you for half day. How to do
Which
it.
is the third one?
First one is, again, I'll repeat for the benefit for all of you. The first one is, I'm telling you the first one from the least important to the most important. The least important first one is a Harman single factor test. Why it is least important? It has got its own flaw, method flaw. The second is common latent factor method. The second important. Common latent factor is better, much better than Harman. So second one is common latent factor method. The third one is a marker variable technique. What is that? Collect data for unrelated in your domain, variable in your domain, and collect data and test using AMOS or using PLS, whatever it is. Okay, so 3 things. Why I told you 3 things? Again, repeat. Most top journals, they look for 2 tests of statistical remedies for common method bias. Right? If there is no question, I will move to the next slide.
Okay.
Okay, now you can see this. I think I'll change the screen. You can see this paper which I have written. You can see here what I have written. You can see the data collected from. Can you see my slide now? Promotional perceived impact of promotional support.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you can see here.
Sir, sorry for interrupting. I had just one doubt, sir.
Yeah, tell me, Vishnu.
Sir, you said that a common latent factor method is superior method than Harman.
Exactly.
And you also told that it can be run only in AMOS. Is that right?
Yes.
So what if you are going for PLS-SEM?
Right. That's a good question. I think I'll answer this. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. If you do a PLS based analysis, like what Vishnu just referred, you can use what is called as multicollinearity is one statistical test to assess common method bias. Multicollinearity. So what is the value? Multicollinearity is measured through variance inflation factor, VIF. If the values are less than 3 or less than 5, then it indicates there is no common method bias. What is the meaning? Each one measures a facet of your phenomena. There is no overlapping. That is what the multicollinearity is. So you can use using multicollinearity. If you use a smart PLS, then you can straight away get the answer into it. So it's a good question. So if you don't have, you can use multicollinearity. So coming back, tell me.
So if one has VIF test done, then is it necessary to go for Harman's or something like that? If I have reported the VIFs.
No. If you reported VIF, assume that Sujata, you're targeting a category journal, report Harman single factor test value also, just to support.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now, the next one. So he says that he says that the data were collected self-reporting method, hence common method bias could be an issue which inflate or lessen the relationship between construct due to covariance among the items. The author tested common method bias in line with previous studies.
वो क्या कहते हैं 2 लेटर मैंने साइन कर दिए हैं एक तो साइलेंट आलम का जो था और दूसरा ये सर्वर पे वो तो किसी को भेज के कलेक्ट करवाना है.
Okay, right. Now we first perform the common method bias using pre-hoc during the development of the questionnaire and then the post-hoc statistical methods. The pre-hoc method is testing the questionnaire using 3 domain experts to check the ambiguity, ordering the measures from dependent variable to independent variable, guaranteed confidentiality and anonymity. The post-hoc we performed is, I think, 2 tests. I think I don't know what is the other one I used in the study. One is the Harman, the other could be, I think, common latent factor method, right? So this is how. So you do a lot. What I want to tell you, do a lot of work, but when it's come to reporting, it is only 4 or 5 lines or maximum 6 or 7 lines, right? Right. Now the next one. Now somebody asked me, that model. There are broadly 2 models. I have come across. One is dependent model or dependency based model and interdependent model. Okay. Dependency model, if there is a dependency model, then I will use a multiple regression technique to solve the figure number 1. If it is a figure number 2, I have no choice, but I use a SEM to tackle this model or to estimate this model I have to use. So broadly, if you develop a model, you see from a theoretical perspective, as a data scientist, as a data methodologist, I see from what is the data, whether there's a mediator available or not. No, I will see from a method perspective. How I have to solve this, how I have to estimate it's going to be. Okay. Say for example, this particular exam number 1, example of a dependent, I can resolve in 2 ways. One is a regression. The other is I can also do it in SEM, structural equation modeling. I can also do it in path analysis. Okay, if I take an average and put it, I can also do it in path analysis. In case of second option, I have only 2 options. It's an interdependent model. Then most likely I have to use, there are 2 predecessor, 1 mediator and 1 outcome variable in the figure number 2. I think most likely option, easy and very robust output I will get is the figure number 2 using structural equation model. So when you design the model, to show the model, then we will tell you what kind of analysis is better, right? Now, when you choose, when there are options, like the figure number 1 has got 2 options. I can do a multiple regression as use path analysis, SEM. I will take the one which gives maximum output. So I think Bhatta has told me just now, Professor Bhatta has told me about discussion. So when I have taken a robustic statistical tool, then I may get more output so that I can infer better in the discussion section. So if there is an option given a simple or a slightly more robustic method, robustic statistical tool, I think I will take a robustic statistical tool because all the output I get it, I can write better in the discussion section. Any question here? So somebody asked me how to build a model. So your model can be one dependent model or interdependent model. There are 2 possibilities, wide possibilities.
So how do we distinguish, if I may ask you?
See here, the distinguish is, see here you can see here the figure number 1, there is only one dependent variable, y. Here you can see x3 is dependent on x1 and x2. See the second figure, x3 is depending on x1 and x2. Here is only one dependent variable. So all the independent variable, whatever I have in a time series regression, whatever I have only one dependent variable. If I have more than one dependent variable, then I have to think of a technique called MANOVA. I have only one, so I can think of a simple regression or I can do in SEM. So what I want to tell you, you draw your model and find out what is the possible analysis you can make. Do not take a simple analysis because your discussion section will be less impacted. If you have more robust outcomes by way of doing an analysis, you have more outcomes, then likely you can have a good discussion section using all these things. You can strengthen your discussion section. So always choose a slightly better, certain. So you please understand your methodology is only secondary, but choose the one which is good in the sense which will gives you good output. right?
Excuse me,
So,
sir.
yeah,
Hello.
tell me. Yeah,
Yes,
tell
sir.
me.
Sir,
Yeah.
regarding this CMB, common method bias.
Okay. Okay.
This in your reference, you have shown Portskov method.
Yes.
Herman,
No, no, Portskov does not have a method. Portskov is an author written.
Author, sorry.
Yeah,
Portskov, we cite
yeah.
that actually when we do that.
Okay.
When I gave that in paper in review, the reviewers commented that it's an old method. There is some new method exists. Please try to adapt that method for CMB. What is that new method, sir?
The new method have come in a marker variable could be a new method.
Sorry, sir?
Marker variable concept could be a new method. You have used marker variable concept?
No, sir. That's why I'm asking. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
so that is what I think we had a discussion. Marker variable is something quite new. It's a new concept in a marker in say common
Okay,
method
sir.
bias. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Now I think say please use latest. Do not think the old method. Now there is something called crowdsourcing platforms are available. Very contemporary. So I want to collect the data in 2 hours, 500 data in 2 hours. Yes, I can use Amazon Mechanical Turk and collect the data. So you don't have to depend. For example, if I want to, I proposed to publish in a A-star paper, and that A-star paper requires 3 studies. Is it possible for me to collect 300? It's very time consuming. So what I'll do, one, I'll collect the data with paper and pencil. The other, I may go to a Mechanical Turk, Amazon Mechanical Turk. The other, I may go to an experimental studies, because I have no time is a constraint. So I would do a spacing of studies like this. So not just Amazon Mechanical Turk, you also have Prolific is another place. I don't know, Qualtrics has got so something called new data collection is called crowdsourcing platforms are available. I think I also want to tell you the bitter story of this. Amazon Mechanical Turk closed in India few years back. They don't give any support to Indians. They stopped because I don't know what is the reason. We would have played something and they said, we don't want to give any service to India. So what we are doing now, I have catch hold of some friend at Singapore, USA, UK, and then operating their system through a team viewer or a Zoom, and then collecting the data. So if you apply now from India, it is not possible, right? So there is something new, what is called as a crowdsourcing platform. The famous one, which has got so much of samples, is Amazon Mechanical Turk. Okay, I don't want to take the time of the next the resource person. So 11 is the time. So I want to talk to you a lot of things. Unfortunately, the number of sessions I got it less. There are a lot of things I need to talk on methods. What is the latest available in each the method section. So very unfortunate that I would have. In fact, I thought of having a practical class on PLS. And at the same time, I'm very concerned about your individual doubts. So I want to answer and satisfy each of the people sitting here. I respect your time. So since it is 11, I think I'll come and so any doubt is there we will discuss on discussion section. We will have to why the paper is getting rejected. That also we'll discuss on the next session, right? I think I have not even completed 50% of the slides. So much of things are available. I don't know whether I prepared more or I'm not able to deliver more. I don't know. So I think because of the time, I'm stopping here. Thank you for your patience here, and thank you for all your lovely doubts. I really enjoyed the doubts.
So you opened up a whole new side of research that we didn't know about. And sir, I
want to do.
I just want your permission. Can I write a mail to you if I have any doubt?
Yeah, your voice is breaking, please.
Yeah, if I have any doubt, can I write a mail to you?
Yeah, you can write a mail. Yeah, if you have any doubt, you can write a mail.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Thank
right.
you so much.
Thank
Sir,
you
I
so
have
much.
a small suggestion, sir.
Yes, sir. Please, sir. Your suggestion is welcome. Tell me.
Sir, what I am thinking is you want to give and we want to receive.
Okay.
So today we are all connected through digital connections.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
maybe we can have 1 day or 2 days additional may or may not be with XIME, but we can
yes. I think
interact.
you,
Whosoever
yes,
Bhatta sir can help you with all the database,
yes,
and
yes,
all
yes,
of us
yes,
can again
yeah.
team up.
Yes,
Sure,
sure.
That
I'm
would be
I'm
great.
ready to help you. I'm ready
That
to
would be a
help
great
you.
idea.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
okay,
super.
sure. That is possible. You can also connect me in LinkedIn. Huh? You can.
Sir, we are already connected, sir.
I think we both are connected. Yeah, you can all of you come to LinkedIn and see what I am doing. I want to share all my research papers, all these things, whatever little I am doing it. Okay.
Please,
Thank you.
Saptarshi, sir, we can, create one separate WhatsApp group and go ahead.
Yes,
we can
sure.
do that.
That would be a.
So I have lot of things to confirm, because all the many places I know it's we do with the old things. I want to change. We don't have time. There's a lot of methods available. We can do it and impress the reviewer. So I have a lot of energy in telling you that there's a lot of things we can do it.
Right, sir.
Okay,
And
okay,
I would
thank
also
you.
look forward to having you as a resource person for our college.
Sure, I'll come.
Me too,
I think-
sir.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sir, that will be an honor, sir.
Thank you. I will come definitely. I
Sir,
will come.
IBS Hyderabad also welcomes you. I am a part of it. and
Okay. Very good.
I will get in touch with you personally.
Yeah, sure,
and then we can
sure.
definitely have some sex.
Thank you, sir. I will come.
Sir,
I will come.
one query. You said SEM. There was one paper which you had referred.
Okay.
I just forgot the name. If you can just let.
What paper is that? Paper topic. Tell me the topic. What is which?
SEM. Structural equation. In the beginning you told.
So don't worry. That is in my slide. A slide I given to you. I think it is about. I think I'll show you now. This paper is about. No, this is the paper. Can you see now? This is the paper you're talking.
No, sir.
Okay.
I think you had shown it from the screen.
Okay.
Anyway, I will maybe once I get the recording, I'll see it.
Okay, sir. I think all the papers are given to you. Okay. Thank you. I think I'll meet you.
Thank you so much.
I think I will. Discussion is not much, and rejection. We have done a lot of work. How to handle the reviewers politely. Okay, that portion will discuss. Thank you so much. Thank you. Sorry, Professor Bhatta, I have taken 2-3 minutes extra. These people are not leaving me. I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
Thank you, sir.
Don't worry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Hari, thank you so much. You have generated so much of interest in people. It's very, quite a bubbly session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
People are so happy. Thank you so much. We'll meet you again tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
And we will continue this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Everyone can go for a small bio break and come back, say in 10 minutes time. So with 11:15, Joshin will start his session. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm leaving, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for all your inputs.
Thank you.
On the sidelines, can you give me a call?
Yes, sir. Yes, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you so much.